This is the Innovation Room, where we talk about real-life scenarios of growing a successful business with practical applications. We uncover many layers of a business and dive deep into technology, marketing, and sales processes to help businesses innovate and climb into their highest level.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Matthew and Feras here. Welcome to the Innovation Room. This is episode 7, and we have something really exciting that we're going to be covering today, and it has to do with scaling. Now, a lot of you, when you hear this word, the first thing you think of is getting more deals, filling up your pipeline, which is definitely an important variable in the formula. But really what we want to focus on is scaling, but more on the back end, handling retention, making sure you're keeping clients happy, but more importantly, making sure that you're keeping your team happy. Because one thing that we've realized is, a lot of people, when they're scaling, they think about systems, processes, really how do you build this infrastructure. But what we've realized, especially over the past couple months, is that your system's only going to be as strong as the people using it. So Feras, what I would like to kind of go over is more in terms of like the back end, what's happening behind the scenes when we've been really ramping up, our business, ramping up our clients, but more importantly, how have we been able to sustain such a solid retention? And maybe a good starting point is like, what's the biggest differences you've seen from where we are right now to where we were 1 year ago?
Yeah, no, definitely. Honestly, we saw a lot of changes actually, just from this year alone. Like 2019 was really big. It was really crazy for us. Right off the bat, I could see like communication increased a lot more within the teams. So team meetings, we were doing those a little bit more often. We were inviting the whole team into the meetings instead of doing one-offs, things like that. So communication increased more. But what I think that what really did it for us was honestly just us becoming more open with everyone. So we like to call it our coming to Jesus meeting every now and then. Yeah. But like literally what it is basically, we'll just have a meeting 20-30 minutes and we just basically unload. Like we just talk about like our concerns about a project, client, or even one of us. We talk about like just any concerns anyone might have, any issues, any problems, anything that we can do to help our other team. So that was the biggest thing. And after those meetings, I saw a huge change as far as morale goes, as far as productivity goes, as far as us actually leveraging more or asking for more help, things like that. So I feel like that definitely was a big step for us. So that was one, just basically expressing all your feelings in the meetings, becoming a little bit more open, just don't hold anything back. So I'm glad that we actually got over that hump.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like when we initially when I was getting into this whole like freelancing thing, like my mind like scaling and building up a team was like, okay, let me just get a bunch of contractors, we'll get them running. And I realized that like, wow, there was like still that huge gap in my business or whatever business I called it, but really a huge gap in what I was doing from a freelancing standpoint. What you're saying seems so normal, right? It's like, exactly. And it's also the very like raw motivational type of thing, but it's crazy how much of an impact those type of conversations really have. And like, if you can't open up with your team, then there's really no unity in like what you're doing and what you're building. And without that strong, solid foundation, like it's just a matter of time before somebody, breaks down, didn't speak up about their problems, everything gets internalized, and it's just a matter of time until that blows up, and boom, now we have to rebuild from the beginning again. Or not from the beginning, but we have to take a couple of steps back. So outside of the meetings, like what else, from a strategic standpoint, let's just start like big picture. What was like the biggest change you saw more from like the top and how that kind of fed down to the entire organization as a whole?
So I think the biggest thing that Robin did was he wanted us to be a little bit more clear with our vision and our goals. So that's something he was trying to figure out how can we like express that. Mm-hmm. And what he did was he did the quarterly business reviews, the QBRs. Yep. Those were perfect actually. So basically what it was is Robin sat down with us during one meeting. He's like, hey, I want you guys to do a presentation about your goals, your vision, what you want to accomplish for the upcoming quarter. For Q4. And then he also wanted us to talk about Q3 and things that we would have improved as well. Yeah. So that was a big ask. That's the first time we've ever done anything like that. Mm-hmm. Basically all the directors on the team did a presentation. We went over what we want to see from everyone else, what we want to see from upper management, the visions and missions, everything was very clear. We had the Q&A afterwards, so we all basically got to sort of chime in, voice our opinions about each department, things like that. Mm-hmm. So to me, that was a game changer. Because after that, like, we all got on the same page. We're like, okay, this is the end result that we're all going to go to. Like, how can we do this together? So to me, like, the fact that Robin implemented the QBR was something big, and I'm glad we did that.
One book I'll recommend any entrepreneur, business owner to get is a book called Traction by, if I recall correctly, I believe it's Gino Wickman. He really sets up like the playbook, like the blueprint on how to really set structure within your organization from the top all the way to the bottom, and really making sure that everyone knows what the vision and mission is, and making sure that everyone's in line with that. And of course, sometimes people have different goals, different priorities, and you got to respect that. So not everyone's going to be in line with the goals, and
Exactly.
you have to have that conversation to make that person realize that, to make everybody realize that. And if you're not going to be happy here, then it's better for everyone for you to go to a place where you're going to be able to excel, enjoy what you're doing, versus staying in here. And that's where I felt like those conversations about what we wanted to do personally and how we managed a way to kind of make our personal goals in line with the business goals of Innovate Fast and all the other brands we build. That's really where I felt we finally had true clarity on like the roadmap. Even things as simple as getting like our vision and mission on the wall. Like, you might think that's very, very basic, but like every day we're walking by and we're seeing it. It's like constant reinforcement. And those little things, like even having weekly meetings, just reevaluating our goals, making sure we're on track. Like, that's how we've broken it down. Like, we obviously have our 10-year, 5-year, 3-year, yearly plan. Then we have our quarterly plans. And in between each of those, we have our weekly kind of goals, and just making sure we're still in line. So it's like, it's one thing to implement this and have all these nice processes and documents in place, but it's another thing to actually make sure that like emotionally everybody's vested into what we're trying to accomplish. Because coming back to what I said at the beginning, like, your system's only going to be as good as the people using it. And if there's somebody that is not totally on board, it's just a matter of time until it breaks. So
Exactly.
Yep.
I believe like the chemistry is so important for
Yep.
your team, especially during the early stages of any business. Like, everyone has to be basically on point with everything.
Yep.
If you have one person who's has a different goal, different vision, doesn't see eye to eye, that's huge. That could be a break. Yeah.
And that's why if you're a business owner, if you're the leader of your business, whatever the case may be, like, make sure you have those conversations. Well, first, read the book, Traction. Make sure you're first following, your 10-year, 5-year, you have everything mapped out, especially, 2020 is just around the corner. Make sure we need to always have our goals set. And I don't know about you, maybe this is one thing too, just as a side note, like, one thing that's helped me a ton with making sure that I'm in line with hitting my vision and my goals is tracking my time. And as boring as it sounds, like, one, from an efficiency standpoint, it helps you identify where you're wasting your time, but two, like, at the end of every week, I reevaluate what I was doing. I make sure I go over the goals for that week. If I was, if I went off target, then I'll reevaluate to see what happened to avoid that for the next week to come. And it's a complete reiteration process where you're kind of getting feedback after the week, you're reevaluating, setting a game plan for the next week, and just keep improving the process. Maybe as a side note, because I know everybody hates tracking their time. It seems like you're putting a number behind it, but there's a lot more than just knowing how much money is going towards a specific project. It's knowing whether what you're doing is in line with your goals, and if it isn't, then we have to have a discussion as to whether this should be a priority or not. But in terms of how I know everybody didn't like it at the beginning, but if you could give your feedback on it.
Yeah. No, it's funny. At first, I was like, oh man, this is gonna be tedious. Like, every hour, I'm basically marking what I'm doing, and like, I'm keeping track of it, how much time I'm spending on this, that, all that stuff. So at first, I didn't really see eye to eye. But after I started doing it, I started seeing the benefits. It sort of made me realize, okay, I'm wasting so much time on doing this when I shouldn't be doing that. So that's, and I'm a visual learner, so like actually seeing the spreadsheet, actually seeing the hours I'm putting in, things like that actually, it opened up my eyes a lot. So I think that's key. One thing that's going to be really useful for this is all the data that we get from it. We'll know how to hire for the future. We'll know, okay, Feras is spending too much time editing. Maybe we need to get an editor. So that's huge. So I think all the information is going to be valuable for the long run. So yeah, now I'm a big fan of Time Tracker. I'm loving it now. Yeah.
And back to this whole concept of scaling, but scaling with the back end, right? Like, that's where this data is going to be so valuable. It's going to allow us to know what are the bottlenecks, where we need additional resources, what we need to streamline, what we need to cut off if it's not worth the time. And from a scaling standpoint, now you can start budgeting. When you're taking on new clients, you know exactly what your internal capacity is right now. And if you want to double that, triple that, you can know how much you could take on and how much you would have to hire and bring on new team members to really support that volume. So the biggest thing, and we could end it here, like, I don't know if you want to keep on going, but I think the gist of it is, remember, it's all about the people. And as a leader, you should be having conversations with your team members. You should be making it very, very clear what your goals are, and having those conversations with everybody on your team, and having those heart-to-heart conversations, because that's what really moves the ball forward. And it's crazy, like a year ago, I would have never thought this would be the core variable to really having a solid retention process in any business. And now, to me, like, team members having those come to Jesus moments is something I'm going to be forcing on every single time, because if we don't have these discussions, that's when the unity starts breaking off, and that's where, you know, problems will arise. So please, Tractions, Gino Wickman, please read that. Get set up for 2020. Start really putting your vision on the wall, your mission on the wall, making sure all your teams align with it. And, you know, of course, let's keep having those come to Jesus moments. We can call it whatever it is. It's just really opening up about what you're going through and just making sure that, you know, it's clear that we're here to support. But I could go on for days for this, but
no, you nailed it right words. There. No, everything you said is so important. Like, I'm so glad we made all these changes this year. It's going to make everything easier for 2020.
Yep.
But yeah, communication's big.
Yep. So guys, don't follow the churn and burn model. It's all about retention. It might be harder at the beginning. It might, you know, there's going to be bumps in the roads. There's going to be a lot of pushback. But at the end of the day, if you really want to be successful, if you really want to deliver the best results to your clients, it's all about retention, and the rest will follow. So
yeah, exactly. You're right. You nailed it.
Guys, thank you. Innovation Room 7 completed. We'll see you on the next episode and talk to you guys soon. If you have any questions, just post them in the comments. Check out innovatefast.com if you want more information on what we do. But overall, please, I'm going to say it the third time, read that book, Gino Wickman, Traction, if you haven't already. See you guys soon.
Later.